Hi folks, these are games that are cheap now. If all you're looking for is my selection for the week, you can scroll down to the video description below and find a complete list of the games selected and the respective storefront link where to get them, either for cheap or for nothing at all. If, however, you're interested in hearing my thoughts on them, why they were selected, maybe why you would be interested in playing them, here we go. This week's first rest stop on the road trip to fight corporate greed is Private Greed with House Flipper, a game in which you will try to buy downtrodden properties for the lowest price possible, which means essentially preying on vulnerable and poor people that are desperate to sell a property for whatever reason that may be, or possibly from banks that got them from unpaid mortgages, again, from people that were in very, very dire financial conditions, and then slapdash crap renovation materials, finishing touches to whatever you were renovating, and then try to turn as high of a profit, flipping the property, trying to fleece some poor schmuck that thought that the house is worth triple what you paid for it a few months before. But it isn't. Yeah, that's House Flipper. Greed. And it's great if you like sort of renovating and cleaning OCD style and then making things look pretty, though not necessarily be very good. It is a fairly accurate depiction of, I'm told, the North American, that is the United States, real estate market. So there's always the sociological investigation side of it, if that's your jam. Next up, Mortal Kombat 11. Very similar to House Flipper in that you will kill, figuratively in House Flipper, literally in Mortal Kombat 11, kill the poor schmucks in front of you and rip their spines through their torso and set them on fire and break bones and so on. Fatalities are a wonderful thing. Third up on the list, Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Why is the 6 relevant? Well, because there's Civilization 7 coming along in not too long, I'm told. I've read, I've seen, I forget. But Civilization 6 is now, 7 years old? Yeah, 2016. 7 years old plus, and all the DLC, all the meta strategies and different challenges you could have imagined are now pretty much exhausted. But if you haven't played it, this is the time to experience everything the game has to offer before the next entry in the series comes along. Silt, a wonderful exploration game that is, as the images show, spent underwater in murky, deep, dark waters. If you've ever drawn with Chinese ink, that's what the illustrations look like. Deep black on deep black sometimes, or deep black on gray on pure white. Very delicate artwork in some aspects. Not so delicate wildlife that is going to try to kill you if you don't get from point A to point B fast enough. Yeah, some skill involved, some puzzle solving, great artwork, fairly short and sweet experience if you like oppressive, dark, solitude in the deep, darkest reaches of the ocean. But who doesn't like that? Imminent death. That's great. To relax. Because it's a game. If it were real, woo. Okay. On a much lighter note, Planet of Lana. Everything is light and airy and not deep. And the surface. And there's clouds and fluffy trees and plants and grass and animals. And some puzzles, but mostly it's an adventure game. Platforming aspects, some action bits. Not so much a test of your skills, but certainly a feast for your eyes. Next, Station to Station, a game that unfortunately I have not had time to play, but every fiber in my body tells me that pixelated Minecraft Lego-like train station or train line or train design or train management games, they please my inner child. It's not like if you're going to build a line with Lego pieces and electric engines and then speed that thing as fast as you can over a very poorly designed track straight into the ankles of adults supervising you. But you get the gist. It's trains. If you watch Thomas the Tank Engine, electric engines, Lego, station to station. Not moving too far off the childhood nostalgic toy lines, Super Wooden GP2 is essentially what I played, in my mind, with my Micro Machines. And there were Micro Machine games, though none of them were this good. Super Wooden GP2, my god, is it an addictive game. Fairly simple, very straightforward in terms of game mechanics and driving, not exactly a simulation type game, but yeah, tiny cars and tiny tracks, lots of fun. Second store platform on the list, Prime Gaming, making a fairly decent set of offerings this week. Well, the next few days, in fact. Some of them the next few months. Weird West, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the Classic Edition, mind you, not the new Battlefront 2, and Genesis Noir. I have not played either Weird West or Genesis Noir, but hearing from people that have, both are fairly solid games, and if in your neck of the woods style of games, you can get them for free, so if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, or if you're looking to purchase anything and order in, get the subscription for the month, cancel it afterwards, get the games. And Star Wars Battlefront. What a game. What a game. Not that the new one doesn't have its qualities, it's certainly much, much prettier than the classic, but if you don't like money-grubbing online bullshit, the classic, the recently renewed classic, mind you, is really worth a shot. On to my game sales platform of choice, GOG.com, with a few fine morsels to choose from. Blade Runner, the Enhanced Edition, it had some issues on launch. Frankly, now, I think it is the best way to play the game. You can choose, if you have this edition, between the graphic presentation of the original and the enhanced version. I have to say the enhanced version, they say it's upscaled and reworked and 60 FPS, all the keywords they could find, they put in there. To me, it just looks like a stretched out, smoothed out, so it seems to me the images lose some of the detail. I frankly prefer the original, but the game allows you to, with one fell keystroke, to change on the fly throughout the game between presentation modes. So you can mix and match, choose whatever you prefer. The game will not crash. The game is easy to install, easy to play, which is more than can be said for the original version, filling with CDs and whatnot. And modern systems, believe me, €3 for the best video game experience in the Blade Runner universe, and what an adventure game it is. There is a dynamic investigation system, meaning that characters don't always do the same things and events don't happen the same way on each playthrough. I don't know if it's random, there's probably just a tree of possible paths that can intermingle in different chapters of the game and different investigations, so that you might play the game dozens of times before actually coming back to a playthrough that you recognize exactly as is. So it's a new experience every time. Different details, different clues. You need to actually investigate. It's great. And I've actually had a playthrough recorded on the channel, so you might want to check that out with the card above. Next, Beyond a Steel Sky, a belated sequel to Beneath a Steel Sky, a 1990s point-and-click adventure. Very good game, I have to say. Played it all the way through back then. I believe I also played it through a few years back. And again, a version that was remastered, not really, I wouldn't say, probably just patched to run on modern systems, but Beyond a Steel Sky, very much worth your time if you are into point-and-click adventure games with spectacular cyberpunk-like 3D cityscapes. Breath Edge, or Breathe? Probably Breath Edge. Not a very well thought out title, I have to say. If you don't know for sure how to read it, it needs reworking. However, the game is an adventure that is in many ways similar to Subnautica. The principle is kind of you're alone, you need to find a way out to save yourself. While in Subnautica you had a dry, dark humor, here you have first-degree slapstick, fairly basic humor. Not exactly the same level, doesn't hit the same highs as Subnautica, but very fun, kind of pretty, be in space alone, and fairly enjoyable experience to go through. At one point it was on Game Pass, not sure it still is, but you can get it here for less than 10 euros on GOG, meaning DRM free, don't have to be online, yours forever. Streets of Rage 4. Well, if you don't remember playing, seeing, or watching someone play, or even an arcade, from way back when of the Streets of Rage series, that just tells me you're under 20 probably, or just over 20. Because, man, was Streets of Rage, and especially Streets of Rage 2, where it was at in terms of beat-em-ups in the 90s. And the soundtracks, my god, techno heaven. Streets of Rage 4 attempts to pick up where Streets of Rage 3 left off, but they failed at that, because they made the best game in the series. I mean, hands down, I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Greatness is not perfection. And this game will leave you wanting more every time you pick it up. And have to put it down, because you're losing. Because there's too many enemies and you're terrible at clicking things fast. Because you're old, like me. Well, too old for this shit. And appropriately, speaking of shit, and we'll see exactly why. Moving to different sales platforms, less well-traveled ones. Molek Synthes. Not sure if that's how it's read, but that's how I'm going to read it. Speaking of shit, it is a game about making chemicals. Potentially illicit chemicals, but it's only a video game, so... now you know how to make crystal meth, so what? I mean, you're just playing a puzzle game whose purpose is to teach you how to mass produce specific molecules. I mean, some molecules might be dangerous materials in real life, but in the video game, just a series of letters and numbers and little balls that you're assembling. It's innocuous, harmless. What harm could it bring to the world for you to know how to make homemade explosives? I mean, yeah. Novel game concept. I have to say, my chemistry needed some polishing up to actually understand and remember the formulas for a lot of the molecules in the game, because there's a lot of them, and the puzzles can sometimes get pretty nasty pretty quickly, but it is one heck of a brain teaser. It will leave you thinking and trying to figure out how to get one less step or two less steps, or maybe making two molecules at a time instead of one in your production chain. What a game. Next, Airline Tycoon 2, and this is right up my alley in terms of management games, because I like management games with humor instead of just dry statistics. I also like this, to be frank. If you saw my Ports of Call video game series, that's essentially a spreadsheet game, but I spent days modding the game just so it'd be quite more to my liking than the original, and frankly, it is. I'd enjoy it. The mods, mods, more ports and ships and whatnot, I compiled more than made. into one mod package. But never mind that. Airline Tycoon. Oh, I also played Pizza Tycoon on the channel. And Mad TV. Oh yes, another Tycoon game made by German developers. There's sort of a tradition here, isn't it? Because these are all games developed by German creators. Wonder what it could be about management games and crass first-degree German humor that pleases me greatly. I don't know, but Airline Tycoon is the one that is scratching that itch right now. And you can get it for €3. Super cheap. Thief, which is what Airline Tycoons are good at. Yeah, stealing people's money for overpriced airline tickets. But in Thief, you're actually stealing stuff. In the dark, in the stealth mode. Not quite as hardcore as the original, again, back in the 90s. But the 90s game was kinda broken in so many ways. I never finished it because it was too hard and broken. I got tired of repeating the same things over and over again. This one's more to the modern taste, more streamlined. I wouldn't want to say oversimplified, but frankly simplified in quite a few ways. Certainly easier to play and more pleasing to the eye and touch than the original is, certainly nowadays. And at less than €3, quite a steal. Yeah, because it's thievery. Our last stop on the road to social democratic oversight on corporate leeches, Humble Bundle. With a few fine choices in the monthly subscription membership, I'm not really into any of these in specific, I have to say. Apart from one that caught my eye, Miasma Chronicles. A tactical combat game, story-driven in a way, but it's XCOM. Let's be frank, XCOM-style game. What caught my eye is that, although it is kind of pretty, and the character designs are fairly interesting, and the combat mechanics are really pleasing to the eye and the ear, I don't know, it just lacked something. Punch, character, the writing, And then I looked into it and found out that these are the people that also made Mutant Zero, another tactical combat game that I found had a lot more characters, so I don't know exactly what happened between the two. And not to say it's a bad game, certainly an interesting game, and if you're into tactical combat, a solid, very solid entry. But yeah, Mutant Year Zero just had something more. Others on the list, though, among my favorite games of all time, you can find Gris, a platformer of exquisite beauty. Not just in terms of art style, the hand-drawn, delicate, nay, fragile characters and landscapes, but the soundscapes. The connection between the two. It is a complete experience. A true voyage into the beauty and kind of scary and fragile in many ways mind of the protagonist. What a trip. Also on the list, kind of a different trip, a time-traveling trip to ancient Greece. Thankfully, with a lot less of that corporate nonsense storylines that the Assassin's Creed games usually have back into the, I completely forgot the name of the company. The company that sends not criminals, well, they're assassins, back in time to change the timelines. It's an incredibly stupid premise, but again, you don't go to play Assassin's Creed games because they're well written or have an interesting storyline. You play Assassin's Creed games because you like climbing buildings and killing stuff, and seeing magnificent landscapes. And boy, is Odyssey a pretty game. And if you love classical antiquity, it's possibly the best way to experience a recreation of those landscapes, the temples, the ships, the mythological creatures. Wow. If you want to actually finish the game, get ready to have little to no life for a long time, because my god, they pat the thing out like crazy. And Our final entry for the week, and frankly the best entry for the week, Fallout New Vegas for €2.21. Sure, it is now over 10 years old. Sure, you have to really mod it to heck for it to not look like crap nowadays, because it really is not quite as we remembered in our mind's eye when we played it back then. To the present eyes, mod it, or just watch it. I also have an ongoing series about Fallout New Vegas in a somewhat remastered form, heavily modded. That is, by now we're actually reaching the final chapter, not too far off. Yeah, so these are the games I selected this week. Till next time.